So good morning and welcome to my neighborhood. This is early morning Harrisburg. And I do mean early morning. It's before 7 a.m. It's actually about 6:40, 6:45. And I'm out here hitting the streets early to show you my neighborhood. First off, I'd like to show you that building. That's where I live. I don't live on this side. This is actually the east side of the building. I live on the west side, overlooking that street down there. That's 2nd Street. We're standing on Chestnuts. There's the Salem Church of Christ, one of the oldest churches in Harrisburg. There are our street, our crossing signals going off. Down at the end of Chestnut there. That building down there, that's the Amtrak station. That's where you go if you want to take the train into Philly or Pittsburgh or New York. From there, I could be in New York in about 3.5 hours. And here, down this way, down this brightly lit street, this is 3rd Street. And this is the way I walk to work every day. Well, when I'm working. This is the route I take. I'm about a mile from work. I walk it every day, back and forth. So I get my exercise. There goes the street. There goes the signs again. This is the International Student House. I've never been in there, but it's a house. There are a lot of international students. We have a lot of Asian, mostly from the looks of it, Chinese, Japanese, maybe Korean. I'm not going to do a Merrill, but that I'm going to stop the tape and we're going to go to our next location. Welcome to Strawberry Square. Strawberry Square is a big complex here in downtown Harrisburg. The state actually rents out a lot of space here. Yes, streets. I'm in the city. You can tell it's Strawberry Square because we have a strawberry cow. That is the Federal Building. Post office, courthouse, it's all there. There we go. This is 3rd and Walnut Street. This is probably one of the busiest intersections here, which I am crossing right now. And we are heading into the Capitol Park. And you'll see why it's called the Capitol Park. This is also the way I walk to work every day. I go right up that path. I should let you know that a few months ago, over the summer, I tripped over that and fell into the street here. I actually ended up right over there. And it came within about 5 seconds of being hit by a car. Yes. And so, in order to protect people from tripping over it again, they just put a squash cone over it instead of cutting the protrusions away. Pennsylvania. Proactive is not our game. This is the Capitol Park. It actually used to be private land and was given to the state for, well, it's called the Capitol Park for a reason. And that reason happens to be poking through the trees here. There we are. That is, zoom in on it in the early morning light here. That is the Pennsylvania State Capitol building. And I walk right past the front of it every day. So you can see that that's why they call this the Capitol Park. Surprising, huh? See, we have our statues here. And we have something else. So I think I can do it. Oh, sorry if I'm spinning around too fast. I hope I'm not giving anybody vertigo. I apologize if I am. But right there, what are those? What are those? Those are leaves. Oh, and what am I doing? See? Let me get the cable out of the way. What am I doing? I'm selfieing my boots in the leaves. Yes, I am totally basic white girling it at 7 a.m. in the Capitol building. And now my boots are wet. I have probably ruined them. Oh well, I can always get another pair if I have to. Oops. Now my boots are wet. Probably not a good idea. They'll dry off, don't worry. But this is a nice early morning walk. One that I take, like I said, every day. As you can tell, there are a lot of ravens in this park from the sounds of it. At this point, I'm actually about 3 blocks from home. Maybe about a third of the way to work because the Capitol takes up a lot of room. So, this is what it looks like when I'm walking home, coming down the path. Pretty soon this will be all covered with snow. Let's move on to another location, shall we? This is 2nd Street, aka Restaurant Row. And what you're actually looking at is pretty much Restaurant Row. It's about a 2 or 3 block section of 2nd Street that actually is a lot of restaurants. Harrisburg, the bustling metropolis of Pennsylvania. It's actually not a very big city. I think there's only about 100,000 people or so here. But this is where they conduct all the business, and that's our Restaurant Row. Exciting, huh? And back here on Walnut Street, we're going to go down this way. And we're actually going to see something. Yep, there goes this traffic. That's one of the things about living in a city. It's never quiet. You get used to all the sounds. You can't help it because the city's never shut down, and Harrisburg is a small city. So imagine, like, if we have a couple of the Hodgers actually live in New York City. Imagine what it's like there. You know, you just sort of get used to it. You don't have a problem with the sound. It's just something that, you know, it's there. You deal with it. I'll shut off here, and I'll start up again in a few. This is Riverside Park, and we're on the banks of the Susquehanna here. Riverside Park runs for about 3 miles or 5 kilometers up the Susquehanna banks. We're on the east side of the river here. You hear people talk about East Side and West Side. Yes, we're totally gangster here in Harrisburg. And right here is probably one of the most famous structures in all of the burg. This is Walnut Street Bridge, aka the People's Bridge, aka Old Shaky. See? Right there. It is a historic engineering landmark. This used to be one of the main highway bridges across Harrisburg, across the Susquehanna River. The reason they called it Old Shaky is, you can see, it's actually a metal grate roadbed, and that is the river you see flowing below us. And if you were of a certain age, like me, you'll remember driving across several bridges like this. And what happens is the road pulls the tires of your car back and forth like this, because as you can probably make out, they're not laid perfectly straight, and you end up feeling the car jerking back and forth, aka Old Shaky. This was a 2-lane highway, so you had one traffic going that way and you had another lane of traffic coming the other way, and you can imagine it was probably kind of terrifying to drive this. But you know, back in the 70s, back in the 60s, back in the 50s, we didn't give a shit. Sorry about that, but this was actually, up to a certain point, a toll bridge. You actually had to pay for the privilege of driving across this highway. Yes. The Susquehanna is, reality-wise, one of the oldest rivers, not only in North America, but in the world. It's actually, depending on who you talk to, who you can get to pin the geography down, it is between 280 and 320 million years old. Which means, in reality, it's actually older than the mountains in the background there. There are two other rivers, one in West Virginia, the New Gorge River, and another one in Tennessee and North Carolina, that are about the same age. And that makes the Susquehanna either also the third or the fifth oldest river in the world. There are only two other rivers that are older than this. The second oldest is in Europe. The first oldest is in Australia. But of course, now they used this bridge up until about 1972, and what ended up happening is Hurricane Agnes came through, and Hurricane Agnes turned into Tropical Storm Agnes and hit Susquehanna with a lot of rain, and Harrisburg was flooded. And how high was the floodwaters? Well, you can see where the waters of the Susquehanna are now, and you see where the top of the guardrail is. The water was actually up over that guardrail. It was 3 feet up over the roadbed. So there's the roadbed, and the floodwater was about right there. You know, it was not a good situation. If you know anything about floods, you'll know that there's not just water in the river, but there's all sorts of junk slamming into the bridge as well. And what ended up happening was it damaged the structure. So they closed it to traffic and then turned it into a pedestrian bridge. And at one point you could walk all the way across the river, that's City Island there, and you could walk all the way across to the other side of the river. Except in 1987 we had an ice storm here, and on the other side of the island, 3 of the trestles here came down in the ice storm. Ice just slammed up against the bridge. There's, looking south, all of our bridges. We have a lot of bridges, and believe it or not, once you get out of the Harrisburg area, you are spending a lot of time looking for bridges. There's a bridge to the north. Once you get past I-81, there's a railroad bridge, and then about 20 miles up the river, there's a highway bridge. And you don't run into another bridge for about 60 miles. There is a ferry crossing, but that's it. And to the south, once you get past the Pennsylvania Turnpike, there's a bridge about 30 miles to the south of us, and that's actually US 30. And then I don't think there's another bridge for about 30 or 40 miles beyond that. So there's not a lot of places to cross the Susquehanna, as you can probably gather. It's actually very wide. You can see that. So there you are, Old Shaky. And in actuality, I'm only, again, a few blocks from my apartment. And as you can see, the sun is coming up, which means we've seen just about all my neighborhood. There's not a lot here to see. This is where I live. I don't know if I want to call it my neighborhood, because as I am a independent contractor, I'm only working here as long as they want me. And if next year they decide they don't want me, then I have to go look for another job. And my neighborhood could end up becoming my old one back in Indiana, or it could be someplace else. Or I could find another job here. Because all in all, as bad as some people have told me that Harrisburg is, I don't find it all that horrible a place. It's nice. It's fairly quiet. Unless, of course, you're not used to living in a city environment, in which case all the sound and the noise and the fury and everything else probably drives you a little crazy. But the reality is, there's the moon. Hi, moon. There you go. The reality is, this is my first time living in an urban environment. I don't really count Indianapolis as an urban environment. I count it more as like another cesspool that I had to exist in Indiana. And hated it. I hated it with a passion. So, this for now. There's Old Shaky. Say hi. This for now is my neighborhood. And in a way, I'll always remember this, because this is where Cassidy first lived. Like it or not, this is where I became me. So Harrisburg's always going to have a little bit of specialty in my heart. Like it or not, this is where I started a new life. And I can think of worse places to do that. Hope you enjoyed this video. Hope you enjoyed taking an early morning stroll with me Funny thing is, I never really got more than 4 blocks from home. And look, we have a visitor. Yes. Don't drive angry. Don't drive angry. Where else are you going to see that, huh? There you go. Enjoy the view. I'm going to head home and get something to eat. And I'll see you on the flip. Take care, and I hope you enjoyed my neighborhood. Bye.